The bottle shattered against the wall, shards exploding like my trust in 1,000 jagged pieces. As Jamie's voice cracked through the phone. Connor, it was just one time. Doesn't that mean anything after 3 years? I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter in our cramped Astoria apartment, the kind of place where dreams go to die under fluorescent lights, and whispered back, "It means everything, and that's why it's over." That was the night the world tilted. The humid July air thick with the scent of garbage trucks rumbling below and the faint tang of betrayal still on my tongue. I'd come out to Jamie in a candlelit diner off Steinway Street. Our first real date after I'd spent my senior year of high school burying, who I was under football jerseys and fake grins for my folks back in Ohio. He was my anchor, the guy who made Manhattan feel like home instead of a pressure cooker. But anchors can drag you under, and that one time with his ex? It wasn't a slip, it was a shove. I hung up before the sobs could claw their way out, my knuckles white against the phone. The apartment echoed with silence now, the kind that presses in like a vice, broken only by the distant wail of an ambulance slicing through Queens. That's when Angel knocked on my door, not the polite rap of a stranger, but the insistent thud of someone who'd heard every muffled curse through the thin walls we shared. "Connor? You alive in there, man?" His voice was gravelly, laced with that faint southern drawl he'd picked up from summers in Savannah before his folks shipped him north for Parsons. Angel Rivera, roommate, reluctant confidant, and the only person in this concrete jungle who knew my coffee order better than my own reflection. We'd met a year ago through a Craigslist ad that read like a bad rom-com setup. 2 dudes, 1 shoebox apartment, no drama. He was 24 to my 22. A graphic designer with ink-stained fingers and a laugh that could disarm a bomb. Broad-shouldered from pickup basketball in Astoria Park, with skin like warm caramel and eyes that shifted from hazel to storm gray depending on the light. He wasn't out, not fully. Not to his conservative family back home, anyway, but I'd caught the way his gaze lingered on certain guys at the bodega, the subtle flinch when straight dudes slung casual slurs. We never talked about it. Until that night. He pushed the door open without waiting, holding a 6-pack of Yangling like a peace offering. Heard the crash. Figured you could use this more than a therapist. I managed a nod, sinking onto the sagging couch that smelled faintly of takeout, lo mein, and regret. Angel cracked a beer and handed it over, his fingers brushing mine just long enough to send a spark I chalked up to static. "Want to talk? Or should I just sit here and pretend I'm not eavesdropping like a nosy abuela?" I talked. God, did I talk? Words tumbled out like they'd been dammed up for months. The late nights Jamie spent networking, that turned into ghosting. The texts I found deleted in his phone when I borrowed it to call an Uber. How I'd ignored the red flags because loving him felt like finally belonging. Like I wasn't just some farm boy transplant fumbling through the city's pulse. Angel listened. Feet kicked up on the coffee table cluttered with his sketchpads and my dog-eared copies of Whitman. No pity in his eyes, just a quiet fury that mirrored my own. "That guy's a coward, Connor. You deserve someone who sees you, not someone who hides behind excuses." He paused, twisting the label off his bottle. "Hell, you deserve better than this dump, too." That better started small. The next morning, hungover and hollow, I found a fresh pot of coffee brewing and a note in his looping handwriting. "Out grabbing bagels. Don't do anything stupid like calling him back." By afternoon, he dragged me to the East River waterfront, where joggers blurred past and ferries cut wakes like silver knives. We sat on a bench, the skyline jagged against the haze, and he pulled out his phone. "All right, new rule. No moping without a plan. What's one thing you've always wanted to do in this city but never did, cause of him?" I thought of the hidden speakeasies in the village, the poetry slams in Brooklyn basements where voices raw as open wounds spilled truths I'd only whispered to myself. "The High Line," I said finally. "Walk it at sunset, like in those dumb Instagram posts." Angel grinned, that crooked smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "Done. But only if you promise not to wax poetic about lost love like some tortured artist." We did it that evening, weaving through wildflower meadows suspended above the Chelsea streets, the air buzzing with cicadas and distant traffic hum. He pointed out murals splashed across warehouse walls. vibrant queer icons in defiant poses, and I felt the knot in my chest loosen, just a fraction. Laughter came easier with him, sharp and unfiltered, cutting through the fog. Over street tacos from a truck that night, grease dripping onto wax paper, he confessed his own ghosts. The father who called his sketches frivolous. The brother who'd once walked in on him with a high school crush and pretended it never happened. Family's complicated, you know? They love you, but it's like they're reading from a script that doesn't have your lines. In those early weeks, Angel became my map through the wreckage. He'd blast Springsteen on vinyl. Born to Run cranked so loud the neighbors banged brooms, while we cooked spaghetti with Jared sauce, arguing over whether Dylan or Bowie had the better heartbreak anthems. Mornings blurred into shared runs along the promenade, breaths sinking in the crisp dawn air. His shoulder bumping mine in that accidental on-purpose way that made my pulse stutter. I told myself it was rebound haze, the kind that tricks you into seeing sparks where there's just smoke. But late at night, when insomnia clawed at me, I'd hear him sketching in the next room, the soft scratch of charcoal like a heartbeat echoing my own unspoken questions. Fall crept in with amber leaves carpeting the sidewalks and a chill that seeped through our drafty windows. That's when the conflict cracked open, raw and unrelenting. I'd started noticing the late nights Angel pulled at the studio, coming home with shadows under his eyes and a phone he guarded like contraband. One evening, buzzed on cheap Merlot after a gallery opening in Soho, where we'd stood shoulder to shoulder amid canvases dripping with color, his hand grazing my back, I asked outright, "Who's the ghost, Angel? You've been vanishing more than Houdini." He froze, glass halfway to his lips, the city lights fracturing through the rain-streaked window like broken promises. "It's nothing, just work." But his voice was too tight, and when he turned away, I saw it, the guilt flickering like a bad bulb. The next day, while he was out, curiosity won. His phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting up with a text. "Missed you last night. When do we tell him?" Marco, the charming curator from the opening, all easy smiles and cologne that lingered like regret. I'd seen them talking, heads bent close over a sculpture of intertwined forms. My stomach plummeted. Betrayal, hot and familiar, coiled in my gut. Not Jamie's sharp stab, but something slower, a dull ache because this felt like hope I dared to touch. I confronted him that night in the hallway, rain lashing the fire escape like accusations. "How long, Angel? Was I just the pathetic roommate you pitied while you lined up your real escape?" His face crumpled, hazel eyes stormy as the skies outside. "Connor, it's not God. It's not like that." He stepped closer, the air between us electric with unsaid things, his hand reaching for mine before dropping like it burned. "Marcos, he's out, fully. No hiding, no family bullshit." I thought maybe it could be simple for once. The words landed like punches. Simple. As if what we'd built. Nights trading fears over lukewarm pizza. Mornings where his laugh pulled me from the dark. Wasn't enough. As if I was the complication. We yelled then, voices ricocheting off peeling wallpaper, dredging up every insecurity like silt from the Hudson. "You think I don't want simple?" I shouted, shoving past him toward the door, coat half on in the downpour. "I came out for Jamie, lost friends back home, and now you're bailing because I'm too messy? Fine. Go be uncomplicated." The door slammed, but not before I saw the crack in him. The way his shoulders sagged, like the weight of his secrets had finally bowed him. I wandered the soaked streets of Astoria, neon signs blurring into halos, the rain soaking through to my bones. Hours later, soaked and shivering, I ended up on that Brooklyn rooftop we joked about climbing someday. Ironic, the one with the view of the Manhattan Bridge strung like a lifeline across the dark water. Lightning forked the sky as thunder rolled in, and there he was, waiting. Angel, drenched and determined, his dark hair plastered to his forehead, that faded eagle tattoo on his neck glistening like a badge of battles fought. "Connor, wait." His voice cut through the storm, raw as the wind whipping off the East River. He closed the distance, grabbing my arm, not rough, but firm, like he was anchoring us both. "I screwed up. Marco was a distraction, a what-if, because facing this, us, scares the hell out of me. My family's already half lost to me. What if I lose you too? Tears mixed with rain on his cheeks. And in that suspended moment, with the city sprawling below like a map of our fractures, I saw it. Not pity, but the same terror I'd carried since Ohio. The fear that love, once grasped, could slip away like smoke. I pulled him close, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the chaos. Then don't run, I murmured, the words of vow against the gale. We're not simple, Angel. But maybe that's the point. We build something real from the mess. His lips found mine then, tentative at first, then fierce. A kiss tasting of salt and second chances, the rooftop trembling under another crack of thunder. It wasn't fireworks or violins. It was gritty, human. The kind of connection forged in the underbelly of the American dream, where queerness isn't a footnote but the whole damn story. We didn't last the night up there. Hypothermia's no rom-com trope. But back in the apartment, wrapped in threadbare blankets, we talked until dawn cracked the skyline. No grand gestures, just truths laid bare. His calls home that ended in silences, my emails to Jamie that went unread. Betrayal had carved us hollow, but in the hollows we found room for each other. Angel quit dodging Marco's texts. I deleted Jamie's number for good. We applied for that rooftop lease together, a tiny eyrie with a view that promised more storms but also sunrises. Months later, as winter bit into the city with icy teeth, we stood hand in hand at a pride vigil in Washington Square Park, candles flickering against the cold. Angel's sketchpad filled with portraits. Not of idealized lovers, but of us. Laughing over burnt toast, tangled in quiet arguments, resilient in our imperfections. My folks visited once, awkward over diner eggs, but Angel's easy charm thawed the frost. Dad even clapped him on the back, muttering, "Good man you've got here." It wasn't acceptance wrapped in rainbows, but it was progress, human, halting, profoundly ours. Love, I learned, isn't a straight line from heartbreak to happily ever after. It's a rooftop in the rain, a shared six-pack in the wreckage, a choice to stay when simpler paths beckon. Angel didn't just open a new chapter. He co-authored it, ink and all. And in the sprawl of this unforgiving city, that felt like the truest homecoming,